Hello everyone, this is Sivagami from SNS College of Engineering. As I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Information Technology, here my students are going to explain about the topic as critical chain concepts. Let's see the video. Hello everyone, this is Sivagami from SNS College of Engineering. As I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Information Technology, here my students are going to explain about the topic as critical chain concepts. Let's see the video.
Myself Kavya Shri. I am going to tell about critical chain concept. The critical chain concept is a software project management is the project management approach that focus on optimizing project timeline and ensure efficiency use of resources. It originates from the theory of constraints. The critical chain method is an extension of the traditional critical path method. With the key difference, it accounts from resource constraints and minimizing the delay due to multitasking.
Chain vs critical path. Critical path identify the longest path. Task the complete the project. Focusing on the dependence. Critical chain consider both of task and the resource container of team members, hardware and software determine the sequence of the task of resource the good delay the project decomposes. Resource of container. In the software development, resource may include of developers and software tester and designer and the specific tools the technology.
Project buffer, a time reserve added at the end of the critical chain to protect the project's overall timeline from delays in any task. Feeding buffer, time reserves added at the point where non-critical chains feed into critical to protect the critical chain delays in task. Resource buffer, time allocated to ensure the resources are available when needed, avoiding delays due to waiting for resources. Task duration estimation. Unlike traditional project management, which may use optimistic, pessimistic, or average task estimates, CCPM uses buffer management and focuses on feeding buffers with safety margin. This approach helps and overestimating the time required each task and required tendency to build large safety margins into our work.
Eliminating multitasking. In software projects, developers and teams often juggle multiple tasks, which can lead to inefficiency and delays. CCPM discourages multitasking, ensuring that team members focus on one task at a time, thereby increasing focus and reducing delays. Prioritizing tasks. Tasks on the critical chain are prioritized. CCPM ensures that work on critical tasks is prioritized and resources are allocated in a way that avoids bottlenecks.
Challenges for critical chain. Initial learning curve. Adopting CCPM can be challenging for teams used to traditional methods. Then cultural shift. It requires a shift in mindset for task-based to constraint-based thinking, which may be difficult for some teams. Then buffer management. Managing buffers efficiently requires continuous attention and discipline, which might require additional training or tools. In conclusion, the critical chain concept has helped software project management to focus on delivering the project on time while managing resources efficiently and accounting for uncertainties in task durations. This approach minimizes delays and maximizes the likelihood of completing software projects within the set timeline. Thank you.
Key concepts of critical chain theory. Critical chain, the sequence of dependent tasks that determines the project's overall duration, considers both task dependencies and resource constraints. Unlike the critical path, which focus only on task dependencies. Buffers. Project buffer, added at the end of the critical chain to protect the project completion date from delays. Feeding buffers, added when non-critical chains feed into the critical chain to observe delays and prevent them from impacting the critical chain. Resource buffers, notifications or safeguards to ensure resources are ready whenever needed. Focus on resource constraints, identifies and addresses resource bottlenecks that could delay the project. Single task estimates, emphasizes realistic task duration estimates, not overly padded. Encourages the use of buffers to manage uncertainties instead of inflating task times. Process of critical chain management. Define project scope. Identify all the tasks required to complete the project. Critical chain sequence tasks based on both dependencies and resource availability. Adding buffers. Insert project feeding and resource buffers to safeguard the schedule. Monitor and control. Focus on managing buffers rather than individual task deadlines. Use buffer consumption as a metric to identify and address delays. Encourage collaboration. Reduce multitasking and encourage team members to work on critical tasks with focus. Now let's see an example. Example of critical chain theory in action. A company is developing a new product with a strict deadline. Uses CCT, the project manager, maps out tasks, identifies dependencies and accounts for resource availability. Adds a buffer at the end of the account for uncertainties. Inserts buffers when the non-critical tasks merge with critical tasks. Focus on critical tasks and ensures resources are ready for each stage.